Hi, it's Kimball Sargent here, and I'm a Nikin self-care coach. I'm also a psychotherapist and an advanced practice nurse. So I'm sort of a outlaw. I don't know how you want to think of it. I was educated in the regular medical nursing model, but then as I went into my psychotherapy practice, I became very interested in what we could do holistically to help our bodies and our minds and our families. And so I like to combine things. So when I met Nikin was a great solution for me because it seemed to marry the two sides, my science, medical side, and the holistic side. And I really believe that integrative health is best. And today I want to talk to you about our distracted children. And I can tell you, I know a lot about distracted children. I was the little red-headed ping pong ball in my first grade teacher's class, and then I have 5 children. 4 of them were very hyperactive and distracted, and the fifth one was very quiet and distracted. But they had one thing in common. They all had issues concentrating in school. And that was even with me working really diligently with their diets. But what I've found in my practice in the last few years is I'm working with children that are truly undernourished. Now, they're not skinny. In fact, most of the kids I work with are overweight to obese, but they are starving for nutrients. And that comes at a price. We have more children diagnosed with ADHD than any other country, and it may come back to our diets. And so today I want to talk to you about what the problem is, and then I have some information that I think is a great solution. 1 in 7 children in the United States does not get enough protein. And I have a story about that. A few years ago, a single father who had a son he was raising by himself, was about 16 years old, had always been a straight A student. All of a sudden, he was doing poorly in all of his classes. When he first came in, I wanted to know what he ate. What I learned was he was eating less than 10 grams of protein a day. So his brain wasn't working. What was he eating? Pop-Tarts, dry cereals, cookies at lunch, some yogurt that was filled with sugar. He just wasn't getting protein. His dad said to me, "Don't you think we need to send him to a psychiatrist and get some medication?" And I didn't agree with that. There's no need to medicate a child if the problem is malnourishment. Let's treat the root cause first. You know what? It's been found in research that 30% of the total calories that children take in are coming from snacks with no nutritional value, desserts, and candy. That's what our kids are living off of. Now, proteins are needed by the brain. If you don't take in enough protein, the brain will not have the chemical juices it needs to communicate. The number one problem when you have low protein is poor concentration. There's a lot of other things too, like decreased muscle movement, slowed wound healing, sluggish, feeling fatigued, hunger, bone and joint pain. You know, kids can grow 1 to 3 inches overnight. So think about if they don't have enough protein on board. It can also decrease the growth cycle. It can decrease immunity. And you know, immunity is really important right now with the things that our kids are facing. You know, you can be fat and malnourished, but there are solutions. You know, the problem is also the quality of the protein. But you know what? You got to get the basics in. And I'm not saying that you got to eat meat. There are very good vegetable protein um, choices, but you have to make them. And if you choose to be a vegetarian or vegan, you've got to watch your diet more closely, and you have to watch your child's diet more closely. Low levels of those brain chemicals are directly related and have been shown in some research to present the same symptoms that we call ADHD. There's another issue. Children need nutrients, macronutrients. Most of the time they get those from vegetables, but there's a problem. There are deficiencies frequently seen in children in zinc, magnesium, iron, vitamin D, A, B, and C. In fact, there's even research out there that the B vitamins are really essential for kids who seem to have these distractibility issues. The CDC did some work, and between 2007 and 2010, They said that 9 out of 10 children didn't eat enough vegetables. And when I have children come to see me, the parents frequently tell me that their kids don't eat any vegetables and that they never have. But what do children call vegetables? Because be careful what you ask. A third of children, the only vegetable they eat is white potatoes, and 63% of the time they're fried. The children that I work with and their parents look a little bit heartened when I tell them that French fries are not a vegetable, but it doesn't have the nutrients that they need. And this is something we've got to look at. Um, Decreased brain power is harmful to the child. That brain, in children, adolescents, they're growing so quickly, and that brain is growing and maturing. And if you had a flower, you would know, say you had an orchid, you would know that you had to give it water and you had to have good soil and the nutrients. And that orchid you take very good care of. Well, you know what? Children are our future, and we've got to take care of them and of their brains. Um, Insufficient diet is linked directly to academic learning problems, psychosocial problems, behavior problems, and health problems. So the diet is key. If you don't have the right nutrition, nothing else works. Have you ever heard, let your food be your medicine and let your medicine be your food? I believe that Hippocrates said that. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about today is how do you make that change? How do you improve the diet on children so that they are doing better? 5 to 16% of children, school children, are diagnosed with something we call sensory integration issues. And I would say the numbers of kids that deal with this is much, much higher because oftentimes kids aren't even asked those questions. But kids with sensory integration issues are very, very attuned to sounds and touches and taste. Everything is magnified with them. These kids oftentimes have a really hard time eating vegetables and going through taste. And the whole ability to bring food choices in, that happens very early on. And I was reading recently that there's really very few vegetable choices in baby food anymore. Now, I didn't know much about that because I was a mom who made all my kids baby food. I bought some of that canned stuff and I smelled it and it stunk. And I was like, I can't make my babies eat that. So I just made my own. And they ate all the same vegetables I did. And I started introducing those very early. And that's important because if your child didn't get those vegetables introduced at a certain point in their early development, they don't get the taste for them. And so then at a later stage, you have to go through a process so that the food is gradually introduced and they develop the taste. So we have a whole bunch of kids out there that didn't get the vegetables, don't have the taste for it, don't want it, don't like it. And then we have the kids that when they taste it, things that have strong taste, they want nothing to do with that. And so it's really hard. And sometimes think about a child with sensory integration. I mean, kind of have a heart. It's not just that it's a bratty kid that says they don't want to eat it. When that food gets into their mouth, it makes them feel sick. They don't like it. They can't stand it. So you've got to find some solutions for those kids so that they're getting those right nutrients while you're working on them learning to eat the foods. Because I'm a great believer that if kids didn't develop a taste for the vegetables and things, that they need to, because this is going to be related to their lifelong health. Now, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And when I talk to children about what they're eating for breakfast, I would say about 80% of children aren't eating anything. So it's like getting in your car in the morning, cranking it up to go to work with no gas. You wouldn't get very far, would you? So you know what? Little Johnny and little Julie, if they go to school without breakfast, they're not going to think. I was one of those kids that didn't like breakfast. But my grandmother, my Mama White, made me have breakfast every morning. And she told me it was the most important meal. And she made me a scrambled egg every morning. She didn't care if I wouldn't eat anything else. I needed to eat that egg. I've often said that she knew more about nutrition than many of the teachers that I had when I was going through college. You know, protein also, starting that, what it'll do is it will help curb the cravings for sugars, but it also helps balance out the blood sugar. Morning is not a good time to add on cereal. I'm not really sure that there's a good time to add on cereal, but in the morning, you want to get protein on board. So, how can you get your children to take in enough protein, take in enough vegetables if this is what it requires? Well, I'm really, really excited about some solutions that Nikin has come out with. We've always had some solutions, but recently we did some relaunch on some of the nutrition products we've had, and they are absolutely kid friendly now. Now, one of my favorites is our Vital Balance Shake Mix. Now, it has a vanilla flavor. It's very mild. Kids really like it. It doesn't, some shakes don't have a great texture, but this one does. And this shake is packed with B vitamins. And there is research that's been done on Europe in the importance of B vitamins with children who have attention issues. It's got everything in here. It's got A and C and B, magnesium, zinc, copper, selenium. I'm not going to go through them all. It has them. So you can mix it with water. You can mix it with dairy. If your child can't take dairy, you could use rice milk or almond milk. But this, it tastes really great with just water. And what do you say? Well, my kid does not like vanilla. Well, you could put some fruits in there, or I've got a couple of other options that are really good. I talked about you need to get the vegetables in. Well, Nikin also has developed something called the Kenzen Total Vegan Drink Mix. I love this. It is sweetened with coconut sugar, and coconut sugar has a lot of nutrients, but even with that, it's only about 2 grams. So it's not going to be anything that's going to hype the kid up. And coconut sugar does not raise the blood glucose quickly. It's a slow rise, which is exactly what you want. One child said that it tastes just like Hershey's chocolate, and I agree. It tastes more like a dessert, but it's not. You're getting 3 servings of organic vegetables with this, and a serving of organic fruit. So if you put this in your child's shake in the morning, then they have gotten a big start on the day with their vegetables and their protein. They've got a packed breakfast to go in and start concentrating with. Now, we have something else that I really like, and I did some research, and there is research now that antioxidants are very helpful with memory and cognition. Well, we have something called Super Siaga. It's one of my favorite products, and they just made it into a powder. It's got elderberry and raspberry and mackay and blueberry. There are no sugars added to it. There is some monk fruit. Again, monk fruit is high in vitamin B, and vitamin B is very good for memory. So you could put some of this in that same shake. You'd be adding organic fruits, you'd be having organic vegetables and fruit, and you'd be having a healthy protein. This is a great way to start your child's morning. And I go through this all the time. Right now, school's a little bit different, but when school's in and you've got to get the children up and you've got to get them breakfast and they've got to get out the door, it's really hairy. But when you can take these, put them in the shaker, shake it up, they can drink it on the way to school. It's very simple. And what I found is when I can teach families how to make simple changes that are good for their family's health, they're so appreciative and they're so much more likely to do it, because you know what? We've got a few stressors in our lives right now. So I want you to remember that nutrition is key. If you're seeing problems in your child's behavior, if you're seeing problems that they have socially with other kids, if they're having issues concentrating, go over and write down everything they've eaten in the last 24 hours. You can go to myfitnesspal.com and you can log it in and really look and see, what are they getting nutrition-wise? How many vegetables? how much protein. These are the building blocks. You know what? All of us want our kids to have a great life because they are the future of our world. And Nikin has got some solutions that will help you. I hope you enjoyed this talk today, and I hope to see you later on the Nikin Road. There are some other things that I'd really like to talk with you about. I would like to talk with you about sleep and hydration another time because those are things that are needed by every child. Thank you for joining me today, and I will see you on the Nikin Highway.